Concealment is where certain units cannot be fully seen by the opposing player, but they can see a physical presence of counters in a location. To show units are concealed, a concealment counter is placed above such units to hide precisely what they are. Also, concealed units receive certain advantages during play. In Hex P6 we have some German units which are covered with a concealment counter. So we know there's something actually there, but we have no idea what it is. They could actually just be dummy units. A unit may never be concealed more than once, although one or more dummy counters may be placed on top of real counters as per rule A12.11. These three stacks, it's now the end of the close combat phase, and it's the Americans' phase, can now place concealment markers as they're in concealment terrain. Now these squads or groups of squads in 06 and 05 already got concealment markers, so we can't place more concealment markers on top, which makes for dummy units. But P6, which hasn't got a concealment marker, can now be concealed. Generally, concealment loss can occur if a unit performs an action within line of sight of a good order enemy ground unit, while concealment gain can be denied while in the line of sight of an unbroken enemy ground unit, including dummies. A vehicle that has no inherent crew, passengers or riders is considered as broken for concealment gain or loss purposes. In R5 we have a stack of dummy British units, and in U3 we have two Italian squads with a concealment marker. If the Italian moves to T3, which is an action within line of sight of an enemy unit, because these units are dummies, they cannot remove the concealment unit from the two Italian squads. If on the other hand the two Italian squads were already unconcealed, the dummy unit does stop them getting concealment, even though there's nothing actually physically there. Units below a concealment marker are not known enemy units and cannot be inspected by the opposition player. If a hex contains both concealed and unconcealed units, the unconcealed units must be placed on top. In R5 we have a concealed 457, a unconcealed 457, light machine gun and a 9-1 leader. As the concealed 457 is concealed, it has to be at the bottom of the stack with the other three units at the top. The opposition player could inspect the unconcealed 457, light machine gun and 9-1 leader, but of course can't inspect the bottom 457 as it's concealed. If a scenario setup has concealment counters within the force pool, these concealment counters can be stacked together to form dummy stacks, but a single concealment counter cannot be placed beneath unconcealed units, but more than one can. Here we have two Japanese 447 squads and three concealment counters, which are to be set up at the beginning of the game. Now what we can't do is have, say, these two 447s in 05 and stick a single concealment counter underneath. But what we could do is stick a second one on, which just means, in this case, one represents a concealment counter, the other one underneath is a dummy counter, which could be a squad or a single man counter, which is concealed. We sometimes have the two on top. But we could also have a single concealment counter as a dummy counter, two squads. As long as we can seal the whole lot, that is acceptable. Or we could actually just have all three concealment counters together as a dummy stack, top one being a concealed marker, the other two being actually representing two unknown units. A stack of dummy units with no real units can be moved as if they were real units, which includes leader, double time and road movement bonuses. Here we have a group of 4 dummy units. Now we can decide that we want to move into Q7 for 1 movement factor, P6 for 3 movement factors. We can now claim leader bonus or even go CX to move into O6 for 5 movement factors. Unlike some other rules in ASL, we do not have to prove there's a real unit within the stack to get any of those bonuses. If a dummy stack moves without assault movement or moves into open ground in the line of sight of a good order enemy unit, it is removed from play as per rule A12.14. In Z3 we have a good order German unit, and in T3 we have a group dummy stack. Now if the American decides to move into U4, this is not actually in line of sight of a good order unit. The only good order unit being the one in Z3. There's no line of sight to U4, so we do not need to remove the dummy stack. But if we then moved into V3, we would do, as we're now moved in line of sight of a good order enemy unit without using assault movement. If on the other hand we used assault movement to move into T4, which is in line of sight of the good order German unit, we would not lose our dummy stack as we used assault movement. A 5/8 dummy stack can claim to be an in-place gun or a vehicle, but except for moving, is treated the same as a 1/2-inch dummy stack for concealment loss. Here we have 2 finished units, which are both concealed. The one in R5 is a dummy. The one in R7 is an artillery piece, both pointing towards the right hand side of the board. Now if the one in R5 should turn to face towards the Russian squad situated N5, it has performed an action within line of sight of a good order squad, so somebody would be removed. Before doing any mine attacks against a concealed stack, the defender may ask the attacker to reveal a real unit in the stack. If he cannot, the dummy stack is removed. We have a minefield in J5 and K5, and we have 2 French concealed stacks. The one in J4 are dummies. One in I4 is a 457 squad and a 237 half squad and light machine gun. Now if we moved this group from I5 to J5, the defender, before carrying out any mine attack, I was declaring how many mines there and so on, can ask to see a real unit. It's up to the attacker which one they show, so they could show the 237 half squad or the 457 full squad or the light machine gun. It's their choice to show that it is a real unit. As light machine guns or support weapons need to be attached to a unit to actually move, they can show the light machine gun as a real unit, otherwise it couldn't move in the first place. Now this group in J4, which are dummies, if they move into K5, because they can't show a real unit, even though there's no enemy unit in line of sight, this group will then be removed. Dummy stacks can only be created during initial setup or from order of battle designated concealment counters as reinforcements during the initial turn of entry. Concealed stacks can combine but must remove the top concealment counter from all but one concealed stack or dummy stack. In N5 we have a concealed 347 Hungarian squad and another one in O5, and we have a dummy squad in O6. Now I can move the squad in N5 and move it to O6. Some see the one from O5 into O6 as well, but I must remove all but one of the concealment counters. So we now end up with a single concealment counter at the top, a dummy concealment counter, and the 2 squads. A concealed stack may split into separate stacks, with each new stack being topped with its own concealment counter. Here we have 3 Chinese squads, which we decide to move one from T3 into T4, which now gains its own concealment counter. Move another one into U3, and again the same, gains its own concealment counter. And we keep the concealment counter we already had on the last one, which we leave in T3. An unpossessed support weapon or non-unit may never gain or retain concealment. When it comes to dummy units, we can never ever have more dummy units than we start with when we set up, or which may come as reinforcements as per the rules. So obviously what we really have is we have 2 stacks here, both have 3 units. We only have 2 dummy units in each stack. The top one is a concealment counter and is used in such a way. So if we put these 2 together, we must remove the top concealment counter. We still only have our 4 dummies and 1 concealment counter. Sometimes if we split them up into individual units, we can still have our 4 dummy counters and 4 concealment counters on top. We can never increase the amount of dummy units we have. Of course they can decrease as per various things in the rules.